I'm going to talk about something that no web developer wants to talk about, and that's bad code. There's nothing that costs the business owner more than bad code. A Google study showed that if a website takes just 3 seconds to load, it will lose 53% of its traffic. And this is the reason Google added a ranking penalty to websites that take longer than 2.5 seconds to load. And despite the fact that Google has a ranking penalty and tests have shown that 53% of the people will leave a website if it takes just 3 seconds to load, the average website takes 27.3 seconds to load on mobile. And the reason for this is because the web design industry as a whole care more about how quickly they can complete the job than coding the website to standards. They care more about how fast they can finish than good code. And this has led to a dependency on templates. And this dependency on templates causes everything to look the same. It causes mundane, plain, ordinary designs, and it kills creativity and innovation. Because you've got these front-end frameworks all over the place that say, hey, listen, everything's already been coded. And the problem is the front-end frameworks, it seems like if you're going to use something over and over again, you would code the frameworks to meet the standards. You would make sure that it had valid code. But the people who make the frameworks, who set up these front-end frameworks, don't care anything about meeting standards. They care more about all these different features and benefits and all this other stuff that they add into the code that causes more code bloat, slows the website down, causes you to lose more website visitors than anything else. And they care more about the features that people will never use. A bunch of features and options that the average person is never going to use. We've got 100 different colors for buttons and all kinds of stuff. And every line of code, every piece, every space, every dash adds to how long it takes the website to load. But the web developers care more about completing the job quickly than doing it correctly. They would rather use a front-end framework that slows the website down, that has all kinds of features and benefits that no one cares about because they want to finish the job quickly. They'd rather put 1,000 different colors on your website that you're not going to use so that they can pick one color really quick and easily than just to hand code it in there. And no one wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to talk about all this bad code. And not only have you got all these features, but the features aren't coded to standards. They're just all thrown in there and they're not even coded correctly. And these frameworks limit the ability for web developers to tailor and customize a website experience. And they call them bespoke. That's not bespoke. Bespoke is custom design. Bespoke is not taking a template and making a couple tweaks to it. That is not custom. And this causes every website online to look similar. There's nothing that causes one website to stand out. You can't impress your website visitor because all the websites look the same. And it devalues the web design profession because it's emphasizing quick turnarounds over good code. It prioritizes the cheapest and fastest solution over the best quality. And this puts talented, good web developers and designers who care about the code, who care about the end experience at a disadvantage. And because of this, the web design industry is flooded with subpar designs. It's flooded with bad code. W3C validation is setting up and coding to web standards. They give you the tools you need to check the code. If you were writing an article, if you're a writer and you write an article, it's common sense that you're going to test to make sure that you're going to test it in different programs and different devices to make sure that you didn't forget to close a tag, forget to misspell something, say something incorrectly, use a word that should have been a different word that sounded the same and looks the same. You're going to test to make sure of this because you don't want to look like an idiot when you put your content online. If someone lands on your website and they start reading and they look at this and they say, wow, look, this guy can't even spell, that's going to hurt you. That's going to cost you customers. And when the Blind Association tested websites, they test every year. They test millions of websites. And every time they test, what they find is about 97% of the websites they test are full of errors. And the reason you could code to standards, the reason you should check your website and make sure, one, if you're a professional writer, it makes sense that you would check your writing to make sure that you haven't misspelled anything or forgot a period or did something like this. So it makes sense if you're a professional that you should test the code to make sure that it's coded to the standards. Yet 97% of the websites are. They don't test anything. They finish the website, hand it to the customer, and never test to see if they made any mistakes or if it's set up correctly or not. And this can cause it not to work correctly in the privacy. It can be security problems. You've got browser problems. You've got SEO problems. I mean, there's a million reasons why you should test the code to make sure it works. For one code can prevent it from being ADA compliant. If it's not ADA compliant, you can get fined $50,000 per incident, and you can get sued. Professionals validate the code. And since 97% of the websites have bad code in them, that means that 97% of the developers, or the majority of the developers, way more than half of the developers, are not professional developers. They don't check their code. And if a developer doesn't check their code, how can they be sure they didn't forget to close a tag? How can they be sure that some standards haven't changed, that there's not a better way of doing something, because they're not even checking anything? They can't make sure the website's crawlable by the search engines. One error can prevent the search engines from being able to spider the content. In a study by Jacob Nelson, found that websites with valid code are more likely to provide a positive user experience, because valid code is more likely to be rendered correctly, faster, and with fewer problems in a browser. I mean, how can a professional website developer introduce code to the internet that doesn't meet all the standards? And not only are 97% of the websites not valid, they don't have valid code on them, RNIB did a test, and they found that 97% of the websites, in addition to not being W3C valid, they're not ADA compliant. If you're a web developer and someone says, hey, what makes good code? Then you have to say a code that doesn't have errors in it, that's coded to the standards, that's set up correctly. That's what makes a good coder. Somebody who writes code that is coded to the standards, someone who doesn't have errors in their code. A good coder, if somebody hands you some code and it's full of errors and stuff, you're not going to say, wow, you're a really good coder. You're going to say, no, it's got to meet standards. And how do you check to make sure that it meets the standards? You check to make sure it's W3C valid. So a professional coder validates the code. And W3C valid code is the first step in making it ADA compliant. And then you look, and the website is full of overlays, plugins, and all this other crap that's nothing more than Band-Aid fixes for bad code. In 2020, Web Accessibility Annual Report showed, when they tested 10 million websites, and found that 98% of the websites are not ADA compliant. That means the chances are your website right now is not ADA compliant. They found that 98% of the websites failed to comply, 52% of the images failed to comply, 89% of the pop-ups failed, 71% of the forms failed, 76% of icons failed, 83% of buttons failed, and 20% of links failed to be ADA compliant. The Web AIM 2024 report showed that the average website has 56.8 errors per page. And overlays do not fix accessibility issues. All overlays do is make the website more complicated. It adds more code, more chances to get hacked, and slows the website down. To start with, the reason for the law is to make sure that the experience for somebody with a disability is the same as an experience for somebody without a disability. And it's not because you're saying, hey, listen, click this link. If you have a problem, if you have a disability, click this link and then choose from all these options, and you adjust the website. It's like you go to a restaurant and you got your grandfather's in a wheelchair, and they say, hey, yeah, listen, if he wants to get in the restaurant, he needs to go around back. And when he gets around back, we've got some boards, some 2x4, some hammer and nails. He needs to build him a ramp to go into the restaurant. That does not make the restaurant ADA compliant, and overlays and plugins with all these options and all this other crap do not make your website ADA compliant. And in addition to that, 75% of what needs to happen to make the website ADA compliant, these things can't fix. They need to be looked at. You need to look at them manually and make sure they're set up correctly. So that means the overlays and plugins are only fixing 25% of the problem. Overlays give a false sense of security. They give the impression of fixing your site without actually fixing your site. You've still got bad code on your site, but now it's hidden behind more options and more confusion. And the reason your website needs to be ADA compliant is because it's the law. Fines can run you $50,000 per problem, and lawsuits can run you $100,000 or more. And you can get sued and fined over and over again until you fix the site. And there's been a steady increase in lawsuits for non-compliant websites as well as government fines. And the business owner is the one who's responsible for making sure the website's ADA compliant. The web developer, he's gone. He gets his money and he's out the door. It's the business owner that gets sued and fined, not the web designer. And while a good website coded correctly can cost you $5,000 or more, fines and lawsuits can cost you $100,000 or more, and you get sued and fined over and over again until the site's fixed. And you're also losing leads. Not having an ADA compliant website means you're turning away millions of people. In 2010, now there's a lot more today, but in 2010, there were 8.1 million Americans who were considered blind, 7.6 million Americans who had difficulty hearing, and 19.9 million who had difficulty lifting or rafting objects like a touchscreen, trackpad, or mouse pad that you got to use to click to change the website to make all the options work with the overlays and plugins. And overlays and plugins hurt website performance. Plugins and overlays add friction to the user experience. And in addition to that, ad blockers sometimes block the overlay, so they don't even work. Overlays are scripts hosted on third-party websites. These plugins and overlays always create a bad user experience because they always slow the website down. They add friction to the website that would not be there had the website been coded correctly. They add more code to the site. The more code on the site, the slower it gets, and the more more chances there are that you're going to get hacked. Creating a good web experience means fixing the code, encoding it, validating it, and making sure it's W3C compliant and ADA compliant, or W3C valid and ADA compliant. If you're hosting a website and then you're using third-party code to make it ADA compliant, not only will it slow the website down, but if the website that's giving you that ADA compliant code, if they go offline, if they're slow to load today, if they have some problems, it's all out of your control. You have nothing you can do about it. You're just sitting and waiting on a third-party company to fix their problem, and your site's messed up in the meantime. And there is nothing that affects website visibility more than page speed. To start with, let's just start with the fact that a bigger website will outrank a smaller website. The reason being is because the bigger website, for one, they've got control of the internal link flow. So you've got links going from one page to the next, and you can decide which pages you want to link to, which pages you don't want to link to, and you control the flow of this link juice. And Google uses link juice to rank the website. The next thing is, because you've got more pages, you've got more content that you can show to people, that you can use on social media sites, on press releases. You've got more pages that can get links. You've got more pages you can share. You've got more content you can share. And this allows for more internal links. So because you've got more internal links, because you've got more pages, it's more likely that an authority in your industry is going to link to one of those pages. So a large website tends to have more incoming links. They tend to have higher domain name authority, and you've got more pages to share and more potential to get a high quality link. And you've got more internal link juice that you control, that you can move around however you want to. And that's unless the first content paint takes longer than a second. And the average is about 10 seconds. So if the first content paint takes longer than a second, then all of a sudden you've got all kinds of problems now, because Google has a crawl budget. Google doesn't have unlimited resources to spend crawling websites. So they have to have a budget that says, okay, listen, this is how much time we're going to spend on the website. And the crawl budget is how many pages Google will crawl within a given time frame. If a page takes more than a second for the first content paint, it can lead to a lower crawl budget, meaning fewer pages from your site get indexed. Because Google doesn't have unlimited resources to spend crawling websites, that's why there are crawl budgets in the first place. So the crawl budget can affect how many pages get crawled. If Google can't find the pages, they can't rank the pages. If they don't know about the pages, then they're not going to rank in the search engines. And also, even if it does rank because of an external link, they're not able to flow the internal link to check everything because it takes too long to load. Google also has a crawl rate. To prevent server overload, Google has a crawl rate, and that determines how many times they're going to crawl the website in a day. So if your website takes longer than a second for the first content paint, Google will limit how often and how many times they come to the website per day or per week, because your website's slow and they don't want to mess with your server or hurt your visitors by crawling the website. So now they're going to limit how often they crawl the site. So when you add new content to the site, Google can't see it because they're not spotting your site as much as they're crawling a website that loads faster. And Google has a crawl depth. If your website's not loaded in 1 second, it will affect how deep they go into the website. And Google has a crawl timeout. If your website takes longer than a second to load, they can abandon the crawl altogether. They just leave the website and say, hey, yeah, this website's using too many resources. We can't crawl the site. And they just leave the site altogether. And that's if the website doesn't have the first content paint in under a second. And Google gives you the tools to check this. They give you the Lighthouse tool. They say, hey, look, here's the tools you need to check and make sure that the website is loaded within these time frames. It's got to have the first content paint in under a second. If it's not, then we've got all these other things that are affected. We're not going to crawl the website as deeply, as often. We're not going to come to the website. We're not going to go from one page to the next. We're going to limit how many times we crawl the website. And this is going to affect them being able to find and rank the pages. And then in addition to that, they introduce Core Web Vitals. And all this can be checked from the Lighthouse tool. Google said, and this was after they found that if a website takes 3 seconds to load, it loses 53% of its traffic. They said, hey, we want to give a good experience to the person who's coming to the website, to the person who's using Google. If you go to Google and you do a search and then you go to a page that takes 5 seconds to load and then you leave that page, that hurts Google's credibility. So Google wants to make sure that your web experience on this website, that you get what you're looking for, so you'll keep using Google. So they said, hey, listen, if a website takes longer than 2.5 seconds to load, then that is a ranking penalty. We're going to penalize this website. It's not going to rank as good as it should. And that's the LCP. That's the largest content paint. And again, the Lighthouse tool checks this. The average is about 27 seconds. And if it's not in 2.5 seconds, Google will give you a ranking penalty. So not only are we affected by we're not able to get spidered. If the website takes longer than a second, the average takes about 10 seconds. We're not able to rank where we should if the website takes longer than 2.5 seconds for the largest content paint. The average is about 27. And then you've got your user experience and engagement. Google, for ranking, they have bounce rate and they have session duration. The bounce rate is how long somebody's on the website. If somebody goes to the website and they click a link and it takes longer than 3 seconds to load, when that website loads, they click on a page. If it takes longer than 3 seconds, they leave. That is your bounce rate. That hurts you. When somebody leaves your website, and nothing causes people to leave faster than slow load times, then that's going to hurt your ranking also. And then you've got the user session, and that's how many pages they click on your website, what they do when they get on your website. And Google is watching both these things. You can go into your Google Analytics and look. They're looking at how many pages and how long somebody spends on the page and what they're doing on the website. And they're looking at how quickly they leave the website. Both these are ranking factors, and both these things are highly affected by page load times. Like I've said several times now, Google found that 53% of people will leave if a website takes longer or takes just 3 seconds, not longer, just 3 seconds. At the 3-second mark, 53% of the people will leave, and the average is 27 seconds for your website. And in addition to this, there is a direct impact on conversion and revenue. So not only are we talking about ranking problems, but Amazon found that for every 100 millisecond of improvement in load times, there was a 1% increase in sales. Movi reported a 1.11% increase in sales for every 100 millisecond improvement. Walmart saw a 2% increase in sales for every 1 second improvement, and Cook observed a 7% increase in conversions for every 850 millisecond improvement in load times. So let's say you're spending $1,000 a day on ads, and you say, and you're getting one sale. So I'm spending $1,000, I'm getting one sale, and I say, well, how can I get 2 sales? And you say, well, I'll spend $2,000 on ads, and then that way I'll get 2 sales. Or you could increase conversions by 100 milliseconds, not even a second, 100 milliseconds, and get the extra sale that way. One doubles your ad spend, and the other leaves everything the same, and you get the conversions just by increasing your web page speed by 100 milliseconds. So let's say the average website takes 23.6 seconds to load on mobile. If you code the website correctly and lay it out correctly, you can get that to 0.8 milliseconds. Not even a second. You can get it under. You can get it to 0.8 milliseconds. And you can get your first content paint down to 0.8 milliseconds. So now the spiders don't have a problem spidering the pages. More pages are getting indexed. Your rankings are improved. But in addition to that, if you say 23.6 seconds minus 0.8 seconds is 22.8 seconds, and then you say 22.8 seconds times 1,000 milliseconds equals 22,800 milliseconds. You divide that by 100 milliseconds and you get 228. So that means that if you improve the page load time from 23.6 seconds for the largest content paint to 0.8 milliseconds for the largest content paint, using Amazon's math, you will see a 228% increase in sales just from load times alone. And that's not counting the improved rankings, the improved spidering, and the ability to get your content out and your link juice flow and all this other stuff. So just on the conversions alone, just on the conversions, you're talking about a 228% increase. And in addition to that, you've got the improved rankings. You've got the ability to build a bigger website now because Google can find all your pages, and you've got the ability to use internal link juice to flow through the website, and you're going to get more incoming links because you're able to build more pages and Google's able to find more pages and rank more pages. So just by improving page load times, you could be looking at a 500% improvement on your conversions. And then you've got these web developers and designers that don't care, they don't look at the stats, they don't understand how to build a website that converts. For example, let's take the hero image. Over 90% of the people will leave within the first 15 seconds if the hero section isn't designed to grab their attention. And most of the small business owners, most of the web developers, they believe that the hero of the story is the business owner. But in our minds, the stories we're telling, you're never the hero in the story being told in my mind. I'm always the hero in the story being told in my mind. So when I come to a website, when I land on a website, I don't care how many people you've helped. I don't care about all these stats. I don't care where you went to school. I don't care about your picture. I don't care about any of this stuff. What I'm looking for is what can you do for me? It's about me. It's not about you. I only care about me. So what should happen in the hero image is I should be the hero of the story. The business owner should be the helper. They should be the person that is helping the hero find his way. So the hero in the story, he starts off, he's a normal guy, then he has a problem, and then this mentor comes along and the mentor helps him solve this problem, and then he's able to go on and be the hero. This is what the hero image is supposed to be. And the goal of any website, when people put all this stuff so that you can scroll and see all kinds of fancy things going on, this ain't TikTok. People aren't looking for entertainment. When they come to your website, they're actually looking for one of three things. When they search the internet, they're looking for information, they're looking to buy a product, or they're looking for entertainment. And if they're looking for entertainment, chances are they're going to go to YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, one of these websites. So if you've got a business, your job is to sell a product or a service. You're not trying to entertain them. You don't want them to scroll. You want to be able to answer their question and force them to click on that hero image. You've got your hero image that puts me as the hero of the story. And to put me, you've got to have a powerful image and a call to action that forces the visitor to click on it. A hero section that convinces the visitor that their life would be better, happier, and more productive if they just clicked on that call to action. And all this is happening in the size of a business card, which means your hero image should focus on the main keyword of the page. I see over and over again the title in the hero image. That should be your header tag. That should be an H1 tag, and it should focus on the main keyword. And the main keyword in that header tag should be the main keyword in the title tag of the page. All the time, 90% of the time, they don't even match, and they should match. This is telling the title tag tells the search engine, say, this is what this page is about. And then the header tag clarifies this. It's like saying, yeah, this is what this page is about. But 90% of the time, the title tag and the hero tag, the header tag do not match, and they should. And it should also, not only should it focus on the main keyword of the page, but it should clarify the offer, enhance the flow, and not at the call to action. It should show your benefits, answer some questions, and paint a picture that puts your customer at the center of it, playing the part of the hero. And giving too much information causes information overload, and people don't do anything. This is the reason sliders kill conversions, videos kill conversions. Study after study shows don't use sliders in the header. One, in most cases, they're not mobile friendly. They're not responsive. They won't work in all the different devices. And in addition to that, they slow the website down because of all this extra code bloat and everything else. And nobody clicks on it. It immediately causes banner blindness. When they see the slider, they think it's advertising, and they don't even paying attention to it. So now you're forcing them to scroll to look for the information that should have been right there at the top of the page. You've got less than a second to convince someone that they're in the right place. And to do this, you have to be extremely clear about what you're promising them, and that should be right in the header. And once you've communicated the promise, it's the call to action's job to deliver on the promise. It's its job to control you. You're in charge of what the website visitor's doing. You're in charge of directing and flowing their attention through the website, and you do this right off the bat with the hero image and the call to action. You position yourself as the guide, you position the website visitor as the hero, and the problem that the visitor is facing is the villain. So right off the bat, before you do anything else, before you design the website, you should decide who's going to care and why, what do you want the people to do, and what are the goals of the website. That's before you even start on anything else. And then all that information has to be broken down into a sentence, into a short sentence with a call to action that represents the goal of the page, along with an image that is powerful and creates an emotional reaction within the visitor. And I've seen videos, and I've heard these so-called web developers say things like, you don't need a website. We can build you a landing page over here. All you need is a landing page. All you need is to set up on this one website. You don't even need your own website. And that is the most insane. If you're a serious business owner, then one, you want people to be able to find your website. But in addition to that, these social media sites, these sites that allow you to build landing pages, all these websites have proven time and time again that not only do they have all kinds of crazy rules. I mean, you take Shopify. When you build something over on Shopify, all you're doing is renting code. You're just renting a space over on Shopify. And Shopify can ban you for any reason. And not only can they ban you for any reason, I mean, if you sell guns, you can get banned. If you do something that's against their terms, and their terms and services are always changing. So just because you're within their terms, I read an article about a guy who was selling toy guns, and this was in addition to a bunch of other products he had. And one day he just got banned. He'd been on there for years selling this stuff. He had built up his business, had it going good, and then one day he's banned from Shopify and didn't even know why. When you get banned from these sites, not only can you get banned, there was a guy telling a story about, there's all kinds of stories. You look at these people there was a guy who quit his job. His wife quit the job. They're selling auto parts on eBay. They're making a good living. Everything's going good. They've got 100% good reviews. Everybody's happy. And then bam, one day they get banned. And they don't know why. They just got caught up in an algorithm. There was a lady telling a story about how she had perfect rankings. Everything was going good. She was selling handmade products over there on Etsy. And then one day she gets banned and they just say, hey, we don't want to do business with you anymore. You're banned. She sends emails. They say, no, you're banned for life. There's nothing you can do. You're banned forever. You're the worst person in the world. You're banned. You're banned. And finally, she does some videos on it and somebody gives her a phone number to call. She calls the phone number and nobody would tell her why she was banned. And then she was talking to this lady on the phone. The lady went and looked, and the reason she was banned is because they called her phone number to verify her account after years. She'd been there for like 5 years. They called to verify the account. She didn't answer the phone, and then she was banned. That was it. You've got to have your own website. These terms and services changing, that you can get caught in an algorithm. You would be you're not serious about your business if you don't have your own website. Do you need landing pages? Yes. You need landing pages. You need it set up correctly and everything else. But those landing pages are on your website. They're not meant to be on somebody else's website. Your website is your content, your stuff. If something happens with your host, you can pick up that content and move to another host. But this is your information, your content. It should not belong to somebody else. It should not be on somebody else's website that you've got zero control over. And the way these landing pages should work is you should have a landing page for every group of people you're selling to. Let's say, for example, you're selling motorcycles. You've got different types of people. You've got people that looking for a cheap way to go back and forth to work. So they're looking on something that's low maintenance, that is good on gas, that they can go back and forth to work on because they need to save money. You've got people who enjoy riding motorcycles and who wants to travel from one city to the next. And these two types of people think totally different. So each type of person should have their own landing page. And not only that, but you've also got people who like to jump ramps and dirt ride and do all this. They need their own landing page. So each persona needs their own landing page. But in addition to each persona needing their own landing page, each persona is going to be in a different place in the buying process. So one guy, he may say, oh, I know that there's a dealership down the road here that sells motorcycles. I know who they are. I've bought stuff from them before. What I'm looking for is to compare packages and prices to see what I'm looking for. His landing page is going to be different from somebody who's never heard about your company, who knows nothing about you and is visiting for the very first time. And then you've got some people who say, yeah, I know Jack owns a dealership down there. Him and I are good friends. I'm just looking to buy something. And he's going to have a different landing page from the guy who's looking and comparing prices and packages and things. So you've got people who are in different places in the buying process. And you've also got people who are at different ages, sexes, and demographics. And each one of these need their own landing page, and they need to be designed and set up for them. And you've also got people who you're wanting to upsell to. So this is a guy who's already bought the motorcycle, but I'm wanting to upsell him this other stuff. So he needs his own landing page as well. And then you can monitor the landing pages. You can look for problems in the sales, bottlenecks that prevents people from buying. And you can say, okay, how do I improve this? You can track exactly what every potential customer is doing. You can look at what makes somebody sell, which landing pages are working better and resulting in more pages. And then you're tweaking and fine tuning these landing pages all the time. This is a full-time job. You're looking at stats, you're studying what's happening, and you can set them up and automate it so that if somebody lands on this page, they can get this free ebook. If they get the free ebook, they give me their email address, and now I can send them more emails, more information, and I can guide them slowly through the process and take them from one type of landing page to the next, and work them through the process. And this entire thing can be automated, so I'm not having to do anything. I don't even touch it. It just, somebody fills out a form and bam, they're getting the emails, or all this stuff is happening, and I'm not having to do anything about it. It's all happening on its own. And you kind of need it to be automated, because these studies have shown that if you can get somebody the information they need, when somebody fills out a form, if you can get them that information in 5 minutes versus 30 minutes, you're 21 times more likely to result in a sale. And this allows you to deliver the right message at the right time, at the right stage in the sales funnel. Custom code goes far beyond just being unique, memorable, and websites that truly stand out from the clients. Clients get more than just a fast, well-crafted website that can yield higher profits through better user engagement, brand recognition, and overall business success. The focus on mass appeal and the reliance on genetic frameworks have led to a decline in creativity, uniqueness, and overall standards. But when you start writing your own code, not only does this open up an unlimited array of ideas as far as the design goes, it is crucial for the industry as a whole to recognize the value of thoughtful, custom designed websites that prioritize quality over speed. Only by doing so can we elevate the web design industry to its full potential, creating online experiences that captivate and inspire users while driving business growth. We build websites that are ADA compliant, W3C valid code, and the largest content paint is in under a second. Not only the first content paint, but the largest content paint is in under a second, because it matters and it makes a difference to the end user and to the visitor, and how much money and how much profit the business is able to make.